Hey guys, how's it going? It's Marco here. So I want to make this video because I think it might help some people look at this game in a more, you know, let's say mentally healthy way. Excuse me for doing that. Excuse me. I apologize. I have a train of thought. I actually made some notes. I put it on a notepad here. And so a lot of it I'm probably going to kind of read word for word as well because I made some notes. I put it in all caps for myself just so I can read it a bit easier. And I might even just put all these notes actually in the description. If you're more of someone who likes to read, you're welcome to do that. But hopefully you enjoy this video. I think it's a proper way to look at things. And so I'm going to invite you to look at things the same way. And it basically revolves around the transfer market. And it revolves around stress, actually, and perspective. Okay? So, why I feel like making this video is I have this strong sense that most of the people, I would say probably the majority of people that play this game, care, and I would say too much. They care too much about the ebbs and flows of the transfer market. Okay? Because most of us play with tradable players, and we understand that, over the course of a game, the general trend is for the value of a card or a player to go down in the long run. Because as obviously the power curve in the long run goes up, so cards that exist now and that are at certain prices now, there becomes more competition for cards to end up in players' teams. So it pushes obviously the market value of cards downward, right? So we all understand that. And again, I've only played this game 1 year before EAFC 24, and that's an obvious reality of the game. And forgive me for saying maybe I'll get used to not saying that. Okay, I know that I do that quite a bit, but okay. So with that preface being said, let me just get into the notes I made, okay? And it starts with one key point, which is that your skill matters more than your team. Your skill matters more than the value of the tradable cards in your team, especially, okay? So if you were twice as good, let's just pretend, snap of a finger. I wonder how this sounds. I don't know how that sounds on video and audio, but if you were to snap your finger and all of a sudden you were twice as good as you just were before, but your team's transfer market price was half. Okay, so just think of it like this. Let's say you are, 1, right? Times 2 for being twice as good as you just were, times 0.5 for your team's transfer market value being half of what it was before. Okay, 1 times 2 times 0.5 equals 1. Okay, so when I'm saying that, it sounds like 1 equals 1, right? So everything should be about the same, right? Well, in the case I'm describing, that's not how the math works out. Because the value of your skill, the result of your skill in the game matters more than the result from having certain quality of players, you will actually perform miles better than you did previously in that situation. And I really want to drive that point home, and kind of a lot of the points that I'm about to go through next to reinforce this idea, they're going to have to do with this concept. Okay. So if someone is going to stress about this game, right, there are different aspects of this game: getting better, learning skill moves, learning the meta, or, learning the fundamentals, trading, investing, etc. If you're going to stress about something in this game, it'd be way better to concern yourself with getting better than worrying about increasing your coins, to be honest. Okay. You'll even see, for example, in like the episodes I've made so far, and a lot of the gameplay I'm going to make in the future, what you're going to see at times, a lot of the time, is that I'm practicing skill moves, whether I'm tied or up a goal or two. Even when I'm down in the game, I will probably more conservatively use skill moves, and I may not explore new skill moves in a very tight match. But you'll see me looking to get better. And that's why I'm actually already thankfully very good at the game. I do take pride in that. I will say that. I'll admit that. It's something that I take pride in. I try to be good at what I do, so if I'm going to play a game, I want to get good at it. And throughout the last year, I went from having to start the last year, I went from about a 1.2 to 1 win-loss ratio in the first few months, and literally pulled that ratio up. By the end of the year, my club's win-loss ratio is at very close to 2.5, which means that I was operating at like over a 3-to-1 ratio for the latter half of last year. So that's a big jump. I would say it's a big jump. And so my goal now is actually, and I know I'm going off on a slight tangent here, but the reason why I'm saying all this, my goal is to actually operate at a high level in the game, be at over a 3-to-1 win-loss ratio at least. And maybe if things go really well, better than expected, maybe it'll be even 3.5, 4-to-1. I don't know. We're going to keep taking a look at my club's record. There are going to be occasions where we're going to minus any squad battles. I will always, if I do show a club record in the future, we're going to go into the squad battles tab, minus those total amount of games and wins, because they will not count towards what I'm saying. And see how I'm doing over the course of the year. Now, that being said, that's a bit of a side note, but my point is I'm already good at the game, and I still am trying to get better. And if you're going to concern yourself with anything, you should do that too, in my opinion. So just a few last points here. When the market does deflate, right? And the reason I should have also clarified, the reason why I thought to actually make this video now is because the market had gone through, to start the year, like a few days of the market dying, like back-to-back days pretty much. And that didn't concern me for this reason, but I know it concerned a lot of other people. Now, when the market does deflate, you got to keep in mind, in general, people's buying power is decreasing to a similar degree. So, and that's for the most part. It's not 100% true across the board, right? That's not how this works. People are trading. Some people are putting a lot more of their effort and time into the transfer market than others. All I'm saying is that I think a lot of that time spent is not time well spent. That's all. But compared to like 80% of your opponents, your buying power didn't really decrease compared to theirs, right? Because you're all in the same market that's decreasing or deflating. So you're not really worse off in that way, right? So while I will concede that for some people who are like selling their entire team and they're fortunate in the way they time the market, will they come out a bit ahead in terms of the star power in their team or their cards value? Yeah, sure. They still lose 5% for selling the cards to EA, and then they have to buy them back at more than 5% to make a profit. So they're already having to clear a 5%, threshold. And the bigger aspect is that they have to hope that they were right about timing the market. Because can you imagine you sell your team and then you were wrong in timing the market, which can happen pretty easily, I guess. Because no one can 100% time it to a T, but yes, there are general trends. But imagine if you're wrong, right? So on top of losing 5% tax to EA, on top of that, when you buy your cards back, you can't. Your team got worse on top of that. Like that would be the worst feeling, right? So I would imagine that's a little bit stressful. And while there can be times to do that, I don't think this time of the year is a good candidate for that. I don't think you should be doing that frequently throughout the year. Maybe I'll say this. The caveat could be this. 1 to 3 weeks leading up to team of the year, there will generally be a deflation in the market as people anticipate a big jump in the power curve and are excited about that promo, right, in January. If you manage your club well and you're playing consistently, you're earning rewards consistently, so you have like a healthy club, let's say, well, you're in a better position maybe to run on like an untradeable team for 1 to 3 weeks if that's what you really want, and then be able to afford 1 or 2 or more maybe team of the year cards or honorable mentions. In that situation, you've the floor of your club is way higher than it would be now, right? If you're running an untradeable team like in week 1 of the game, I mean, you're gonna get destroyed by a lot more people because there's a huge gap there's a huge gap. So yes, can you overcome that gap with skill? Absolutely. A pro player can easily run a bronze squad right now and destroy 80% of their opponents comfortably, I'd say, or more. That's the reality of it, and that's maybe a key point that I should mention. Okay, like one of these days, I might make a video about my silver team. If a pro player was using the silver team I've made, I believe strongly I've made like the most meta starting team in the game. And it's not all about pace. Yes, there's pace in the team for sure, but there's 3 5-star skillers that are very meta for a silver game mode and as far as silver cards go. And if a pro player was using that kind of team, I mean, they would probably pretty comfortably get rank 1 in the upcoming weekend league, to be honest with you. And so I'll leave it at that basically. So yeah, let me see if there's anything else I want to finish up with here. I think those are some of the last points. Yeah, if a pro player is like 10 times better than their opponent, like they'll beat them 9 to 10 out of 10 times. It's as simple as that. And I guess I want to just wrap up with this point that I have behind me because I made a note of it. In summary, life is about perspective. This idea of not stressing yourself out and looking at things the right way, having the right perspective to things within your life. Right now, the context is that we're talking about a game that we play. You check out these videos because you have an interest in this particular game, and I'm making videos on this game for many reasons now, which I'll get into one of these days. I'll go into a bit of background as to why I've now decided to make videos as a personal project of mine. There is a sequence of events. It's a long story, but I've decided to, it's a bit of a creative pursuit for me, a little bit, and I've been enjoying it more than I expected, and I'll get into all that another time. But one of the more obvious reasons why I make videos and play the game is because I enjoy the game, right? Overall. But this goes beyond this game, and it goes beyond gaming in general. You should be thinking of things through this lens in maybe all aspects of your life. And what I mean to say is focus on the more important things and don't stress about the little things. Okay, so that's all I got. Take good care of yourself and your mental health, and I'll see you next video. Peace.